So here we are. It's incredible.
I can't
Hi,
believe I
Rob.
get to see you.
I can't believe I get to see you. It's been quite a while. So, Robin Starbuck, I'm not going to even try and pronounce your third name. I'm sure you can have
Farmanfarmaian.
Farmanfarmaian. And it's wonderful to have you on You've Got Mel. You're a real celebrity these days. So I'm delighted to have you on the show.
Oh my gosh,
We're going to
I'm
start
so
out.
excited to see you. Like, I haven't seen you in years.
Well, okay. We just started. We have the whole evening. But first, we have to have the jingle. The jingle, I spent so much money making it, took me years, hired professional musicians. We have to do the jingle. It'll take just a
Okay.
minute. And you might like it. You might not. But here we go.
Get it, we'll sweep you off your feet. We move, we groove, you got Mel. Ease your legs, rest a while. All you gotta do is smile. We're swell, can't you tell you got Mel? When the show begins, you better hold on real tight. Or before you know it, you'll be high as a kite. Take a break, settle down. We're the only show in town. SRO, don't you know you got Mel? Give it up, don't think twice, we're a hurricane on ice. What the hell, give a yell, ring your bell, show and tell. Mademoiselle, give a smell, you got Mel.
You've got Mel. And Mel has Robin Starbuck.
Farmanfarmaian.
Help me.
Farmanfarmaian. Perfect.
A real princess. Robin, it's so great. It's so great to have you here. And where do you want to start? Do you want to start at the beginning? What makes you such an incredible lady?
Well, I was born at a very young age.
That's a good place to start.
Yes, yes.
No,
So
but I know. I mean,
go ahead.
You talk, and I won't stop you unless I need to.
Okay, so I am an early stage entrepreneur here in Silicon Valley, and I'm also a professional speaker. I have 3 books. The first one is The Patient as CEO, How Technology Empowers the Healthcare Consumer. It's all about things like artificial intelligence, robotics, sensors, nanotechnology, how that's intercepting healthcare and really shifting healthcare into the patient's hands. My second book is The Thought Leader Formula, how to strategically leverage your expertise to drive business and career goals. And that's my answer for the Me Too movement. When I was, pushed down and sexually harassed and all of that in the workplace at Silicon Valley, it's very male heavy. Instead of trying to fight it directly, I said, okay, I'm going to be a professional speaker and then they can't touch me. And it worked better than my wildest dreams. And so I created a system for other women to be able, and minorities, to be able to build themselves up into thought leaders and really not only protect themselves from any type of sexist or any type of harassment, but in addition, really help their careers and give them more power, right? And then the third book is called Facilitating Virtual Events, Driving Participant Engagement and Interaction. And that's kind of my contribution for COVID for the event world, because I realized people were struggling. I mean, event planners who had never done anything online were suddenly faced with this brand new platform that they had to figure out in days. And so this is kind of a short guide on really how to think or rethink about the event experience when it's done only in a virtual world.
Okay, and these 3 books are available where?
On Amazon.
That's a good place. I happen to have a publishing house that competes unsuccessfully with Amazon. You sell your books, you don't give them away.
Exactly. But I do have 2 books up on your site.
Indeed, you do.
I do.
And what are they about?
They are a collection of memes. And then there's a couple, actually, I think there's 2 comic books I created with my nephew, Nicholas, back when he was like 8 or 9 years old. We take pictures of him and turn them into cartoons and then turn it into a story. And so I did that on your platform.
So our books forever. So,
Yep.
Robin, your next book on our platform.
Okay, I'll do another. Yours is great, especially for picture books.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do a picture book and do it in a virtual environment only, oh my gosh, it's perfect, perfect, perfect. It is, yeah. And especially for kids too, to do something as quick as that. It's a really fun team activity, kid activity, and you could even use it as a team activity for a virtual event for adults.
Thank you for that plug, Robin.
You're
But,
welcome.
but you're here to talk about you. So, what made you you? What made
What
you this incredible woman? Start at the beginning. Um, tell us everything. I know a
so
few things, and they're amazing. So, and I know that you're not shy. So,
I'm totally shy, you know me. So really what drives me, first of all, my mom was a pediatrician and my dad is a patent attorney, but originally was an MIT scientist. And so I grew up in cutting edge technology and medicine. But then at the age of 16, I was misdiagnosed with an autoimmune disease. By the age of 19, I'd had my entire large intestine taken out. And by 26, I'd had 43 hospitalizations, 6 major surgeries, and 3 organs removed. And at that time, my doctors were telling me I was cured, and I wasn't. And I was in extreme pain. So they put me on 80 milligrams a day of methadone, which is essentially a heroin dose at that point. Like you would never prescribe that today. But 20 years ago, don't do the math, they prescribed me that. And I went back to my doctor and I said, I need to be off this now. It's horrible. And she said, next step could be to surgically implant a morphine pump into your spine. Like, no. Went home that day, fired my entire healthcare team, took myself off the methadone, dropped my dose by 40%, and essentially crawled across the floor going through similar to heroin withdrawal by myself. I rebuilt my healthcare team, ended up getting diagnosed correctly with Crohn's disease, put on Remicade, it's an IV medication, and I went into remission overnight. And so taking control of my healthcare and saying, no, I'm the CEO of my own healthcare team, not only did it give me back my life, but it saved my life.
So what's the matter with doctors, Robin?
So it's not the matter with doctors. It's that diagnostics are hard. They are really, really hard. And then when you go past the fact that we only have really good treatments for hundreds of diseases where there's over 10,000 known diseases for human beings, and we only know how to treat hundreds of them. And diagnostics are extremely hard. And anything that doesn't rely on just a blood, something like, a blood test, because most diagnostics are based on either a blood test or image analysis. It's very difficult. And so especially in the GI world, it's even more so. This is not a story that's unique to me. This is a story you hear over and over again with all the GI diseases.
I also have one, but we're not going to talk about that today. It's all about you today. So, Robin, so this led you into the field of being your own physician.
No, very different than that. It's being my own CEO of my healthcare team. So traditionally, we always thought the physician was the CEO, the center, but in fact, really, they are the clinician, right? They are the ones you go to, they're an expert. They understand the human body, like the physiology and biology and all of that, the anatomy, and they can help you diagnose, get you diagnosed correctly or refer you to a person that might be able to help you. But they are not the CEO. And as the patient, as the CEO, we are not clinicians. I'm not telling people to be their own doctors. I'm not telling people to diagnose themselves. What I am doing is telling people to take control. And just like the CEO of a corporation, a CEO is not an expert in marketing, finance, legal, engineering necessarily. They hire the best experts who report back to them. And then together as a team, you decide on what to do with the company. But as CEO, it's your ultimate responsibility that the company is overall successful and that vision is carried out. And so that's the place that patients really need to take control. They're the ones who find the right experts or find somebody who can find the experts for them, like a caregiver and or a health coach. And then they're the ultimate decision maker. And it is their responsibility to to follow and understand the treatment plan. And if you don't do that, find someone who can explain it to you and help you follow it.
Incredible. In religious Judaism, you know who the CEO is? You want
No.
to
Who?
guess? The rabbi.
Ah.
For many centuries, religious Jews, if they had a severe medical problem, the rabbi was the CEO, and he was the one who had to
Ah. Okay.
decide. So that's we'll come back to that, and also, you know, you're a princess. You have strange names. You're mysterious. Tell us a few of your mysteries.
Few of my
Not
mysteries.
all of them.
Okay, so yes, for a number of years, much earlier in my youth, I was married to a Persian prince from the Qajar dynasty, which is no longer a dynasty in existence, so it's a defunct. But it was really cool. I took a deep dive into the Persian culture. I didn't know what that was. I'm a small town girl from New Hampshire. I'm half Jewish and half Episcopalian, so I'm basically a mutt, right? An American mutt. And so it was really interesting to take a deep dive into the Persian culture because it's a very, very old culture. I learned how to read and write in Farsi. I could speak the language and I could cook all the food. And I took that with me because that was really fun. Another kind of crazy thing about me is that I'm about 88 pounds, 5 feet and a little bit. And I played competitive varsity ice hockey for 6 years. I played for
How did you do
Boston.
that with the cross checking and everything?
Well, I was the puck. No, I'm just kidding. I was actually by my 6th year at Boston University, I was first line center. I
Wow.
was fast and I'm so low to the ground and so little that I could check people. And you're not really supposed to check in women's hockey, by the way, but you do a little bit.
Ah.
But my shoulder could hit them like in the waist, or I could even like hit my elbow in the back of their knee because I'm so small and I'm so like I could crouch down when you're going really fast. You can, crouch down on skates. And so, yeah, that was a kind of crazy thing about me.
Okay. And the name Starbuck is from?
So Starbuck is a very old name on my mom's side, and it's passed down to the firstborn daughter. And our family in the 1600s founded Nantucket with 8 founding families, including the Macy's and the Folgers, which actually
That,
literally led to the Macy's and the Folgers.
that's not the Jewish side.
No, that's the European side. My dad is from the Russian Jew side, and so his family came over at the turn of the 1900s, right around there. It was before the Russian Revolution. They fled the Ukraine and Russia.
So
But yeah, Go ahead.
How did your parents deal with such an amazing but not normative daughter?
Not no, so they. I am exactly my mom and dad. Like I am my dad, but with long hair. Right? I'm so similar. It's not like it was odd for them. My mom was a physician, and we lost her about 12 years ago to breast cancer.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
she was, oh, thank you. But she was one of 3 women in her entire medical school. And she was also a 5-octave soprano opera singer. And she got into Juilliard, and she chose instead to go to, yep. And she chose instead to go to Albany Med and became a doctor. So like the women in my family were very, very strong, and I was not only that, it's that my dad is a feminist, right? Like he believes women are equal. He gave me every advantage in life. They didn't even bat an eye when I said I was going to play ice hockey and field hockey and lacrosse. And, I started competing on horseback at the age of 6, right? Like I am my parents. This wasn't the only thing that's abnormal about me compared to them is that I ran a number of very formal galas for years. So I was the gala chair for San Francisco Ballet, where you have 2,000 people and we net $1.5 million in one night over a 10-hour event. And so I have done those kinds of things. And while that is the opera and the symphony and the ballet world, which my parents did intersect in, they didn't do the whole gala diamonds thing.
Incredible. And how did we meet, Robin?
At Keynote. We met in
That's
Italy.
right.
Yes.
That's correct. So most of the amazing people that I've interviewed on the show, including yourself, I met through Yossi Vardi and Kinernet, and we met in Italy at Maurizio Rossi's Kinernet. And I don't see you. I mean, I see you, but you're not moving. I hope you'll come back.
So either I'm streaming or you're streaming. Oh, there you are.
So how did you get to Kineranet in Italy?
Who invited me? I think Maurizio. I think Maurizio found me, but I'd already done a bunch of DLD stuff, and they have a DLD luncheon here every year, usually in Palo Alto, where I live. And so I knew Yossi already. So I think it just came around from that.
And how did you know Yossi Vardi, the one and only?
The conference world. I've run over 200 events, and I've been the keynote speaker now over 150. So like that means in my professional career, I've been involved with over 450 events. You meet
Incredible.
people.
Incredible. What's the secret? What's the secret
What's
of
the
Robin?
secret?
Yeah, how do you stay so, is there a word in English, ebullient?
Oh yeah, that's a billion. Yes, bubbly. Because it's a choice.
Yeah.
Your mindset is a choice. And you know, there are days where I've been kind of struggling with the fires here in California because I'm watching my state, you know, up in flames. And then I think about the people out of work. And so that sometimes really weighs very heavily on me. But most of the time, you should just learn how to control your emotional response. It's not about necessarily being angry or sad and people making you angry or people making you sad. It's that you are choosing to have that emotional response. So most of the time I control my emotions enough where I don't get angry, I don't get sad, I don't get depressed. And I look at that opportunity side. Like for instance, I mentioned I lost my mom to cancer. Well, since then, and she was one of my best friends. I mean, this is like, we were close. Instead of wallowing in just depression for years, I worked on curing cancer. Literally, we had a small molecule we found through machine learning. I've invested in an immunotherapy company, and I'm advising a remote patient monitoring company for patients on chemotherapy, right? It's looking at massive hardship and turning that into an opportunity.
Incredible. And so let's talk a little bit about conferences that we both miss so much, except that this is your living, isn't it?
Yes, it was terrifying because in March, I mean, I've set up my life to have multiple revenue streams at all times. And being a professional speaker, one of the great things about that is that each contract is $10,000 to $20,000. So I'm like, oh, if I lose one client, something happens, they have to cancel, whatever. I have like these 6 others and it's not a problem. You're not going to get just fired, right, from everything, except for when there's a pandemic. And so in 1 week in March, I lost over $50,000 of keynotes and then didn't book any. You know, normally my fall, September, October, November would be, I'd be back to back. Like I'd be flying all over the world. And of course I'm not this year. And so it was terrifying because I'm a single person. I live in Silicon Valley in downtown Palo Alto. It's one of the 3 most expensive zip codes in the United States, right? Just buying a bottle of water here is 5 times more expensive. And so I did 2 things. I immediately looked at the opportunity side. And so I co-founded a company called Face Touch Aware with my friends, David Eagleman, who is a very famous neuroscientist, Don Vaughn, and Dr. Sarah Vaughn. So Don is a neuroscientist and Sarah is a physician. And it's an Apple Watch app that helps alert you when you touch your face so that you can break the habit. And I'm like, okay, that's the opportunity side of the coronavirus, is that there is a business opportunity to help people from being infected by, you know, some of these habits of touching their face. The second thing I did is I wrote that 3rd book, Facilitating Virtual Events, Driving Participant Engagement and Interaction. Because I knew, okay, most likely events are not going to hire me for $20,000 a keynote to do one over the internet, but they will hire me to moderate an entire virtual conference or to work with them beforehand, during, or after to advise them on how to get that really important participant interaction and engagement. And it really starts weeks, if not months, before the event. And so I was like, you know, that can turn on potentially 2 new revenue streams for myself.
So Rob, so I'm assuming that like everything else, the $10,000 or $20,000 has gone down.
For virtual keynotes, well, it depends on what you're doing. I actually do have one that's a full pay. But then I also have other ones that had to negotiate with me down because they lost some of their sponsors, right? And so because
Exactly. People
because
are making money. So
yes, what it is really understanding who the audience is, because normal public events that have free tickets to just the general public or low cost tickets, those are not the kinds of conferences that pay you. Right? The only kind of conferences that pay you are the corporate events and the associations, like those big professional organizations. And that's because they are doing this for a very specific purpose, which is to either educate their employees and or members, or to drive business, whether they're Salesforce, they do it every year with their customers, right? They both educate their customers, but then show them a great time. Right? So they continue to be Salesforce customers building on that platform in their businesses. And so understanding that is where you can really start to understand why they would still sometimes pay full price. And that money doesn't necessarily go away because you are talking about a corporate environment. And so they have revenue that has nothing to do with their events. It's the events that only do events, right? That they're the ones who have lost all their revenue.
So some of the events continue and some of them are full price events. That's wonderful.
Yes.
How do you, like, I know you, right here. My audience doesn't know Robin, right? The way I know Robin and my friends. How do you manage to come across? What are your secrets? Do you want to share some of them? How do you manage to be looking at you now with your amazing backdrop and your gorgeous smile and your presence, and it's almost like being able to reach out and touch you? How do you do that?
That's so sweet. Well, I set everything up correctly, right? And I do this, I talk about this in my book, Facilitating Virtual Events. I have what's called a speaker ready guide. Now, not only do I have this backdrop behind me, and look, guys, it's taped up there. That is tape, and this is a nice door to give that contrast, but you can see the roll is right there in the corner. Because I rent my apartment. I don't want to like paint the wall. So first off, I have a very good solid color background that is a contrast. Secondly, I've got lights in front of me. Check this out. Right? So that I have lights that are just right on top of me. Then in addition, I'm making sure I'm looking directly at the camera and it's slightly above eye level. And those three things, and this. So people will forgive blurry video. They never, ever forgive bad sound. And so I use a wired headset because it really has the best microphone for these purposes, right? You can get some of those high-end microphones, but you have to understand what you're doing because the high-end microphone is going to behave differently in different environments and how closely you have it to your mouth. And so things like the Apple headset, these are just, the little guys that go in the ear. It's foolproof. And that's a big deal. You want things to be foolproof when you're doing this if you are not an actual, video or sound person.
Okay. I think that Robin.
There you go. I'm in the heart of Silicon Valley. So of course we don't have good internet access here. I said it was a little unstable.
How is my sound? Do I need a new microphone?
No, yours is perfect.
Okay. And I'm also being lit because it's nighttime here in Israel. You're in Palo Alto,
Yes.
and I'm here in near Tel Aviv in our lockdown. And so it's always a very good idea to have your face lit by the daylight when it's daytime.
Yes, it's easier. That is great light to have that daylight. But then there are lots of little lights you can buy that go on a phone. So they're circular or they clip onto your laptop.
So
and so you can get the little ones.
Okay, but I have like two lights that are shining on the wall and coming back at me.
No, you look perfect. I was actually impressed because very few people do their setup right. And I looked at yours, I was like, wow, like you're perfect. You're at the right height, your sound is good, the background.
This is a work in progress. because I also want to start teaching. People ask whether they should use these backdrops, a virtual background. I'm going to pick one now. Um, let's see. Here I am.
Yes.
Hi, Robin.
So I always say absolutely not. Unless you are not talking at all, and there's the behind you is just horrific. Like you can't show it to anybody. Otherwise, the reason is because it uses so much computing power. I mean, think about what the computer actually needs to do. That if you are not on a high-powered computer, it's going to slow everything else down, and it's going to slow down going over your internet. And so you're going to be delayed. Your sound is going to be delayed, and you're going to look a little bit odd because without something that's really high-powered, you kind of come in and out of it. You notice that, and it gets fuzzy, and so it doesn't look realistic, and it can get very annoying to the other people watching.
Okay, and they told me to I'm just doing this now. It's like my second day of broadcasting with my study, and to have a little music and a little piano and a little me. Is that good? How should I improve this?
I love it. The only thing I would do to improve is that a door behind you?
It's a closed
Either
door,
paint.
Robin.
It's a closed door, so either paint it or get. Do you know that sticky wallpaper? You can get it for like $50 US. I don't know what it would be in Israel, but it's really cheap. Or just wrapping paper. You could get non-glare, non-glossy wrapping paper and just put it over the door with a contrasting color, and you'll pop more.
Or I could get Casper the Ghost to stand there when I'm broadcasting.
Well, no, but you don't want white because it will go off your skin, right? And you're already so you want to contrast like this blue or not green,
So
or a red.
You don't want me to paint it white. You want okay.
Yep, something and nothing busy. So that's why the solid color works. Burgundy would be gorgeous in that room. A nice burgundy.
Also to drink.
That is true.
So Robin, what haven't I asked you? What would you like to tell people all over the world?
I love talking about the shift in healthcare delivery because it's really, really interesting. There is this is my main keynotes, and this is what I usually talk on. There are so many things converging to really push patient care back into the home. For instance, I do my Remicade IV in my home. I have a nurse comes, they ship the medication to my house, and she sits with me for 5 or 6 hours giving me the medication, right? Which is a dramatic change from having to go to a hospital. In this country, both Medicare, which is our large government payer, as well as Humana, which is one of the largest of the private payers, are pushing dialysis into the home. So if you have a kidney problem and you're on dialysis 3 times a week, 4 hours a day, those 12 hours no longer need to be done in a hospital. And that's really hard for people. So really bringing a dialysis into the home, bringing point of care diagnostics into the home. So the Apple Watch can now do, the next generation can do pulse oximetry, which is the amount of oxygen in your blood. In addition, of course, it can do a single lead EKG. And that's just on the Apple Watch. There are many other devices that have cleared both the FDA and the CE mark. I'm not sure what they do in Israel, but you guys are so innovative that I actually watch Israel as one of the main places to see kind of what's coming out in medical device. I look at like Rainbow Medical and all that kind of stuff. And I get the Startup Digest from, I think it's called Startup Israel or something, but I get a daily newsletter from Israel to see kind of what's going on in the startup world. But there are a lot of other clinical grade medical devices out there that will take different vital signs. And so it's no longer, you don't have to go into a doctor. What you can do is now calling the doctor over video, and then you can take your own vital signs in your home with things like TytoCare, which comes out of Israel. I talk about TytoCare all the time. It's a clinical grade otoscope, stethoscope, temperature monitor, and tongue depressor. And so when the doctor says things like, okay, well, put the tongue depressor down and go like this, she says, okay, move it a little bit to the left, move it a little bit to the right. And she is able to see the live video camera feed. the doctor over the internet. So like you don't even have to go into the doctor to have them look down your throat or into the ear because of TytoCare.
Mm-hmm. So Robin, this begs the following question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, most of the technology, some of it comes out of Israel, but most of it comes out of America. And still you guys are edge, but you have the most expensive healthcare in the world, and you're not doing too well during the pandemic compared to other countries.
Yep.
What is that all about? I have an idea to share in a minute, but I want to hear your opinion.
Because in the United States, healthcare is a business. And in other countries, it's not a business. It is, let's keep our citizens alive and healthy. In the US, it is a business. It is run for the most part by private corporations with boards of directors and stockholders, and they need to maximize profits because first and foremost, if you are a C Corp, that is your main responsibility. Thinking about the fact that in the United States, the private insurers, really do a lot here. No one asks them to be the guardians of the healthcare industry. Right?
Yeah,
it just kind
Robin,
of
the world is changing.
Yes.
From this cutthroat capitalism to a caring culture, and it seems like the medical people in America are the last ones to jump on this wagon.
Yes. Well, that's because first of all, there's a lot of really big giants that control healthcare. Secondly, CMS really sets the standard of care, and being a government agency, there's, past 3.5 years have been a little bit hard here in the US with that. So, things move more slowly too. Anytime, even with the best of governments, things move slowly because of red tape. And in addition, the incentives in this country are all wrong. We practice sick care. We don't practice health care, right? Other countries may practice health care.
Incredible. So while we're talking, and I left medical and I'm not up to date, but all of these developments, somebody in America who doesn't have good insurance, all of these technologies to consult with a really good physician in a country where physicians charge 10 times less than they do in America and are just as good.
Yes.
Does that make sense? The same way that people are outsourcing illustrations.
So Utah, so the state of Utah, they are doing a pilot program right now with some of their government employees, and they literally send them to Mexico to fill their drug prescriptions, give them $500 stipend to hang out there for a day that, they spend the night there. So a little vacation, they pick up their prescriptions, and they're saving thousands of dollars a year still on those employees. Walmart, by the way, Walmart is a giant company with 1 million employees here in the United States, and they're self-insured, which means they cover the healthcare for their employees. They send employees across state lines for cheaper surgeries. They're already doing that. It's called medical tourism. And it's been happening for years. Americans going to Mexico for things like plastic surgery, or if you do that massive weight loss surgery here in the United States, I've heard that a lot of the insurers may not pay for the skin removal, but you have a huge amount of skin removal. And so people go across the border to get that removed. And so medical tourism, it's a big thing. Americans leave.
Okay, but what you're talking about is you don't have to leave your house to do this tourism.
Yes.
This is like virtual tourism. The same way that you and I are talking, I'm now talking to a really good in Mexico who has all the images that I've just streamed them from my phone and watch.
Yep. They have
crazy, right?
Yep, because they have access to clinical grade medical data. It's no longer having to go to a primary care office, urgent care, or emergency room to go get your blood pressure and things like that monitored, that was really our only choices. Not blood pressure, because there's been at-home blood pressure monitoring, but some of these other things. It was difficult or expensive. Now they're dropping in price like crazy. Like that TytoCare, the one that's really cool with the 4 clinical grade medical devices, it's only $300 US in Best Buy. That's cheaper than one Apple iWatch.
Incredible. So Robin, let's get back to you. What shall I wish for you in this Jewish New Year? What is going to make you an even happier, more brilliant person?
That the world's economies bounce and people are back employed, because that weighs so heavily on me. And every day I look and I walk down the street and I'm like, that business closed and that business is closed. And how are they making money? And I mean, the stress people are under just from that one thing. That's what I wish for in my life, because that would make me happier to see other people survive and thrive.
And for yourself, dear?
Well, I mean, that helps me, because the economy, a high tide raises all ships, right? And so if my friends or even strangers, and they have a robust economy, it means I can go down the street and eat at this restaurant that's not out of business, type of thing, right? And so that really just not only benefits individuals, but it benefits society collectively. So that is kind of for me.
Incredible. My last question, I have 2 more questions. So why didn't you study medicine? You have such an interest in health care.
So a couple of reasons. Yes. Well, my mom was like, don't go into medicine, like, don't, as a doctor. Like, she's like, don't become a doctor. Because being a doctor now is so much harder and so much different. And the other reason is because I was so sick in college, and I realized I was not even thinking about, I have a BS in management. I wasn't even barely thinking about completing the degree. I was living day to day to stay alive. I did not know 1 week to the next if I was going to be alive. Like, I was constantly in the emergency room, constantly having blood transfusions or emergency surgeries. And so me getting a second degree wasn't even on my radar. But the second reason is that I am a life hacker through and through. I don't know how to do things the normal way. Like, I can't follow the path. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so a rigid path to a specific degree where somebody else has chosen what I should learn to make me an expert in a rapidly changing technological world, like, no way. I'm not going to waste my time and money.
Like this, like before you had the problems as a teenager, the medical issues, right? You must have been a really special little girl.
So at the age of 6, as I mentioned, I was competing on horseback already, but I also was taking pre-algebra and tutoring 10-year-old boys, 9 and 10-year-old boys in math. In addition, apparently my parents tell me this, we used to go to Disney World every year. And even at the age of 5 or 6, I would be fully packed with my suitcase by my bedroom door 7 days in advance. It's just my personality, right? Like, I think ahead, I like to plan, I like to strategize. And my first words out of the womb were, where's the revenue stream? And so I guess kind of like think, where's the money? Where's the money? And, follow the trends. And so I've always been 5 to 15 years ahead of the rest of the world in my head, or what I'm doing. Now I'm trying to slow down and catch it, because last year I wrote a provisional patent with a team around nanotechnology. And we realized we were going to work with NASA until that fell through, because apparently NASA now needs to go land a person on the moon instead of going to Mars. But we were talking to them. But for commercial use, we're 5 years easily ahead of where the commercialization of nanotechnology is. And so I'm already thinking about how to utilize nanotechnology and graphene together. And the rest of the world is at least 5 years away from really integrating that into any kind of products. So I'm just always ahead.
Incredible. And you are the nicest person.
Oh, thank you.
So in addition to being a survivor, you kind of invented Survivor, long before there was this TV program. You didn't have to participate because you were there, right? From the
Yes.
get-go. So Robin, it's been wonderful having you on the show. And the question I ask everybody, so I'm going to ask you, is do you like the Beatles?
Of course, they were one of the foundations of rock and roll, right?
Okay, yes. If not the foundation, there weren't. Yeah, yeah, of course. And what's your favorite song?
I, all I can remember right now is I can't remember any. I can remember a duet with Michael Jackson. I haven't listened to them in a while, but I, of course, do know them. So I'm thinking say, but that was just Paul McCartney. It wasn't actually the Beatles.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to let you off the hook because if you answered, I would ask you to sing that. Can you?
Oh, yeah, no.
I want to take you outside your comfort zone. Can you sing something in Farsi?
Tavalodet Mubarak. That's some like happy birthday, congratulations, like celebration words. But I don't remember the tune either. I just remember that one chorus.
Well, what do you remember the tune of, Robin?
You are not going to get me to sing. That I can't do. I did not inherit that from my mother.
No, but I have a theory, okay? A medical theory that everybody can sing. If you can speak a language, languages are music, then you can sing. But some people, when they were young, somebody told them that they weren't singers and they're too embarrassed to sing. But you're somebody who I know this for a fact, that you go outside your comfort zone on a regular basis.
All the time. But the thing is with singing, it's not, yes, everyone can sing, but it's being able to hit a key or a note. And that actually comes down to both a genetic marker, but in addition, the way your brain neurologically, you process sound. And so a lot of people don't hear tones, and so they can't match it if they can't identify it. You find that, like, I'm not that good in languages. I spoke, French and Farsi, but only like sort of.
Okay.
You find people who are really good in singers can also speak language quite well, usually.
Robin, I'm not a cordon bleu chef, but if you ask me to make you a shakshuka, I'll make you a shakshuka. What is the worst thing that can happen is somebody who thinks that they cannot sing and doesn't have the requisite genes might sing off key. Are you a perfectionist?
Oh gosh, no. I have a rule that if it's 90% done, it's done. Anything past that, you will waste more time. It's 20% of the profits come from 80% of the profits come from 20% of the effort. And so you've got both of the Pareto principle, but then that 90% rule as an entrepreneur. It's just, I also have a rule that I don't ever give something like a keynote or any type of performance whatsoever without practicing it like crazy.
Okay, but this is like a spontaneous talk between friends.
You have to say, I can't sing, but you can sing.
And I'm not paying you for this non-keynote wonderful conversation. Are you having fun?
Yes.
Okay. So in order for me to have fun, I'm going to ask you to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And nobody cares if you don't hit the right notes genetically.
Well, yes. Well, I can't sing that, but how is this interesting to my LinkedIn audience?
It's interesting to my LinkedIn audience because I have a theory.
You have a theory
that everybody can sing.
Well, I mean, I can with practice, but I have to actually practice.
You have to practice singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
We'll practice the melody with understanding. I don't do things without practicing them first. You're not going to get me to sing. I love you to death, but you're just not going to.
Okay. But Robin, we're going to have to work on the spontaneity,
I can be spontaneous as long as I plan ahead.
That's planned spontaneity.
Exactly. That was the joke.
Yossi Vardy taught me the most important thing about entrepreneurship, which is if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be prepared to look ridiculous.
Oh, I look ridiculous every day.
So
have you seen this hair?
Have you seen this hair?
No, I need a,
You look wonderful. Robin, so I'm going to have to let you off the hook because we're not in the same room, and I can't think of resorting to anything. I can't threaten you that I'm going to, delay the check or whatever. You don't have to sing if you don't want to.
Thank you.
I'm going to love you just the same. So listen, this was wonderful. And you're one of the most remarkable people that I've met. And don't stop being remarkable, and get in touch with me. We'll do some vocal coaching.
Thank you. Thank you. It was awesome seeing you.
You've Mel, dear.
Mhm.
And let's find some time to talk when everybody's not. So this has been Robin Starbuck.
Farmanfarmaian.
Farmanfarmaian. Someday I'll get your name right. I have to practice. I will get your name right, and you will sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star."
Well, I do have my maiden name was Soloway, which came from Solowaychik. So
that's easier for me to pronounce, dear.
I was going to say, I would think Solowaychik is better.
Solowaychik. It's also a very famous Jewish name.
Yes, I heard that when I went to Israel. I didn't realize that. And I was like, what? Oh,
illustrious.
Cool.
You don't look like a Solowaychik, but you don't look half Jewish.
Well, that's because I have eye makeup on underneath my eyes,
Robin, this has been wonderful. Let's find some time to chat next week. And
sounds
good
good.
luck. Good luck to you and the rest of the world. And do not stop ever doing the incredible stuff you do.
Thank you, hon. Bye.
Bye, dear.